everybody, and welcome to episode 29 of GamerVision. We're still chugging along at this thing. I am Jeff from Just One More Level. And how are you doing, Tony?
Howdy, howdy, everybody. I am doing fantastic.
That's, as of this recording, as of us doing this whole thing, Nintendo, they had their little mini for their third party publishing partners, the Triple P. Um, where really, I mean, they said third party publishers are their partners, um, but there was a lot of Square Enix there.
There was a
There was a
lot of
lot of
Square Enix at the thing. I was very
um,
surprised at how much
like,
stuff from them there was shown off.
but I mean, it wasn't just a Square Enix show. At the very end, at least at the very end, Atlas was like, "Oh yeah, we make RPGs too," and by the way, here's probably three of the most requested
Mhm.
RPGs for the platform.
Yeah, that Joker from Smash Brothers is finally getting a game on the Switch.
Yeah, that's it's been what, 2 years,
Two or
a
three
year?
years now. Yeah,
Like as soon as they showed Joker for Super Smash Brothers, everybody assumed that, oh, this means he's the Persona 5 finally for the Switch, and by finally we mean years later, but
I saw a thing
finally
earlier
happened.
today. I don't know how much validity there is to it, but Nintendo World Report posted their review of Persona 5 Royal that they got from not Square Enix, from Atlas 4 years ago on the Switch. But because the game had never come out, had never been announced, they hadn't posted that review yet. So the game's maybe been ready for 4 years.
Well, and that kind of begs the question: was there some kind of like exclusivity deal or some kind of like was Sony just shelling out money, just being like, nope, nope, not this year. No, no, not
Yeah, I
no.
don't
We're
know.
but
That's a
I
weird
mean,
situation.
and a lot of time to
Yeah.
go by. Um, but yeah, so for their mini direct, it wasn't all just RPGs. It wasn't all just Square Enix, but they basically controlled the well, I mean, it was basically Square Enix.
It was
Um,
probably more than 50% RPGs.
yeah, and which Square Enix they dabble in RPGs. Um, for me, like there was a couple things that I knew going into the show. They had already been announced, like the Live Alive or Live or
I think it's
however you
Live
pronounce.
Alive.
Um, just that wonderful HD 2D. Just it it for the most part when it originally released, we never saw it stateside
No.
until now. And for anybody who is watching this and you haven't done it already, the demo is available on the eShop, which I think it's the first three chapters. And all of that save data that
Yeah.
you have from those three chapters transfer to the full game.
Yeah, it was available immediately after the direct, and I downloaded it, and I've played through one of the chapters so far, and I am very very excited about this game.
That's I just downloaded the demo because unfortunately I'm kind of I procrastinate. I'm like I'm gonna do things right when I'm like I'm gonna do this now, and then somehow I don't know, ADHD kicks in and something else happens, and then but I finally downloaded the demo. Um, One thing that I am liking from Square Enix as far as like Switch releases, this is not the first game that has had a demo
Mhm.
that where you play through a portion of the demo, you can then transfer your save data into the full game.
It's becoming a more and more common thing. Square Enix has done that a lot with their stuff.
Yeah,
Dragon Quest 11 had a 10-hour demo that the your progress in that carried over, so that you didn't have to replay that first 10 hours of the game.
and I know Triangle Strategy did the same thing. I ended up starting a new save anyways because I just wanted everything to be fresh. But it is nice that they are really just. I know the Bravely Default games have done
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing as well across the 3DS, and I think Bravely Default 2 for the Switch. But it's nice to see that they're really the demo is just an extension of the full game.
Yeah, which is that
Uh,
is very nice.
and then like RPG time. I saw that. I was like, this is a really cool concept for an RPG. Just the it was like
The storybook aspect to
yeah,
it.
like just a really cool
Yeah.
concept.
There's a
And
couple of those that I've seen now. There's one that was on the direct a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember what it's called, but it's got that. It looks like the Link's Awakening sort of style
yeah,
visual thing where the little kid comes out of the storybook and is interacting with the real world.
but the last one that really kind of caught me was the Harvestella. The
I called that one
Harvestella.
Depressing Harvest Moon.
Yeah, like I like the RPG battles. I'm not exactly a fan of the like lifestyle sim stuff,
See,
but
I'm a
the
huge fan of Rune Factory, which is the fantasy Harvest Moon stuff, which combines the farming with the dungeon crawling stuff, and those are really really good games. And this looks a lot like that, only with like an end of the world sort of everything is dying
the
scenario
quietest.
built around. Yeah,
I don't know about the name of it, but the quietest is coming.
that's another
Quietest.
thing that Square Enix is really good at. They
Yeah,
make weird names that you think that sounds really dumb,
that's
but by the time you're done with the game, you're like, it makes perfect sense.
yeah. Like of course I'm gonna call everything quietest now. Like any time that it's time for me to stop doing something, it is
It's the
quietest time.
quietest, the quietest
Yeah.
time.
But yeah, so for the RPG gamer, obviously this was a great direct for me. But
Yeah.
um, what were some of your standouts for? I know that there was something in the direct that I'm
Well,
sure you were excited for.
before we get to that, I downloaded another one of the announcements today, where after the direct, they stealth dropped Portal onto the
Oh,
Switch.
I didn't realize that was just
So,
they're like, hey, poof, here you go.
yep, Portal 1 and 2 came out together as a package for $20 on the Switch
That's the
today. Yeah, the
companion
companion
collection.
collection or whatever. But it downloads it as two separate files. It's not
Okay.
like it's booting into one launcher and you pick which game you want. It downloads the two separate games. I assume at some point they may be sold separately. I don't know why you'd want to do that. Just get
Mm.
them both. It's $20. They're great games.
And finally on Switch.
Yes, and they have motion control aiming. So if you're,
Okay.
familiar with that from like Splatoon or whatever, you can actually use the motion controls to do all the puzzles. I haven't tried that yet. I might play around with that a little bit later. But yeah, Portal 1 and 2. That Portal 2 is now my favorite game of the first half of 2022. It's just squeaked in to the first 6 months of the year. Nah.
Like
um,
literally the day that we're filming this, you're like, well, time to change the votes over. Like
exactly. But no, we got a release date for Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope.
it
It
looks really
leaked
cool.
before the direct, which was kind of sucky, but
Yeah.
we do. It's October 20th, I believe that game is coming out, and it looks really good. And tomorrow, as of the time of this recording, they're actually going to be doing a showcase for Mario and Rabbids and going in depth in the game. And I will be watching that, and I will be all over the internet, excited
Yeah.
as I could possibly be for more information about Mario and Rabbids, which just sounds weird to be excited for a Rabbids game,
Well,
but I am. Uh,
that's for the most part, like I was watching the direct, and it's a cool concept. Like the dashing to chain combos and stuff together is a cool thing. It just looks like fun to play,
yeah,
and um, but one thing that I was noticing with this direct is that it's like here's something coming out in July, here's something coming out in August, here's something coming out in September, here's something coming out in October, here's something coming out in November. Like they have like maybe not the biggest announcements or the biggest releases
hmm
hitting every month, but they've got something that's going to
yeah.
be like this is something to pay attention to and something that is, I mean, for the most part, only available on Switch.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
so I've got that in October, and then in December, we are getting the release of Dragon Quest Treasures, which was a brand new Dragon Quest game that they just announced earlier this year. It's not the Dragon Quest news I really wanted. I wanted some more
yeah, uh,
information about Dragon Quest 3. That's the one I'm super super hyped for. Um,
another two HD 2D game.
Yeah, yeah, but I'll take Dragon Quest Treasures because that game looks really fun. The spin-off games for the Dragon Quest series are always a lot of fun, whether it's Dragon Quest Joker, Dragon Quest Monsters, the Builders game. They're all fun, and they all change up that core gameplay in a way that is really interesting, but
Well,
still
and
feels like Dragon Quest.
um, I'm kind of hoping because we talked a little bit before before the show. I'm really surprised that Dragon Quest III Remake wasn't talked about more at
Hmm.
this direct because like they announced it like a year ago or something. I my timetables are pretty all over the place right now, but like they announced it before this spin-off, and I kind of figured that maybe it was a little bit further along in development and that we would see some more stuff
Yeah,
from it.
yeah,
But I'm kind of thinking maybe they gave us the release date and talked about treasures at this to free up space at like maybe TGS or Gamescom or something where Square Enix can then talk about or show off more for Dragon Quest III Remake.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know where Dragon Quest III would fit in a release schedule for them right now because they've got
yeah,
so much stuff.
yeah,
And it seems like that's got to be a 2023 game at this point, which is kind of sad. But
yeah.
early 23, like February, maybe is a possibility if they're far enough along in development. I really hope they are.
I mean, for like, I mean, Square Enix is a very large company, but I feel like, kind of like what you're talking about is they have so many things being developed right now. Like their pipeline for the next year to 2 years is pretty stacked. I mean,
Yeah,
we talked about all the Final Fantasy VII stuff. Like they have, uh, I think Crisis Core Reunion comes out in December. They've got that Dragon Quest game, or they have Treasures coming out in December. They've
yeah.
got that Chronicles game, which
Ever
is like
Crisis.
oh, yeah, Ever Crisis. They've got I can't remember the first half of the name of it, but that tactical Chronicles game that they showed off a little while
Oh
back,
yeah,
which I'm really hoping that they kind of tweak the art style on that one. Um, but for the most part, like and then obviously Final Fantasy 16, and they've got a team working on Dragon Quest 12, and
yeah.
like just they have so many things that they're working on right now.
Kingdom
Um,
Hearts.
oh yeah, I forgot about Kingdom Hearts 4. Um, like they have so many things that is in development right now, and like just they have Forspoken, which I just now remembered I was excited for it, but then just 2022, just there's so many games.
Yeah,
Like at this point, they have so many projects that are going to cannibalize the 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 mind share, the market share of these other titles, and so just like the window of 2022 releases is now. I mean, maybe at Gamescom we see something, but if there's nothing at Gamescom, it won't be this year, I don't think,
no,
because
probably
they
not.
would. Um, but you finally got something like that. That was from the last episode, all the Final Fantasy talk, and then
Yeah.
you know, it's just of the three projects. I don't know exactly where it ranks for you, but they were like, okay, here,
Uh,
fine.
I mean, it's maybe third, possibly tied for number two. Dragon Quest Three is the one I want the most because I've wanted that original trilogy to be re-released for so long, and I'm really cautiously optimistic about what they're doing to change Dragon Quest 12. I'm a huge fan of the traditionalist approach they've taken to that franchise
It has a
for
huge
up
fan
to
base
this
because of
point.
it.
Um, so the idea that they're changing a lot of stuff with Dragon Quest 12 has me a little worried, but I will until we know remain and until I get that game in my hands remain cautiously optimistic about the release of that. Um, Dragon Quest
I
Treasures is just more Dragon Quest 11, and I'm all about that. I have no problem playing more Dragon Quest 11.
my perspective of their two main franchises, Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, I always saw Final Fantasy as the more experimental um, RPG, as far as like we're gonna kind of throw out the combat system with every main iteration. We're gonna try new things, but then Dragon Quest always felt like we're just gonna fine tune and tweak and just keep keep the core concept the same, but obviously like quality of life improvements as time goes on. So like Final Fantasy was the experimental, and Dragon Quest was the traditional. You know, we got it right the first time. Obviously, we can continue to improve it, and just as time went on, they did. They just continued to improve it. So it is kind of surprising that with the 11th one, they're like, we're gonna shake it up.
Yeah.
So, but outside of the Nintendo Direct, we were kind of already planning to talk about what our front runner of 2022, as far as game of the year, you know, could be. But then Nintendo was like, "Oh yeah, we need to get some stuff out there," um, and it never fails. Always on
Yeah.
Tuesdays. It seems like Tuesdays
Tuesdays
we,
are news days, it seems
yeah,
like.
yeah, like
Uh, yeah, and
screw the other 6 days. Tuesdays.
to be honest, a look back at the last 6 months of the year could be a separate episode all of its own.
Yeah,
Um,
like this has
the,
been, and
it's been stacked this year
I mean,
already.
kicking things off with Pokemon Legends Arceus, which
Mhm.
turned out to be a good, well, a great
A
uh,
very, very
entry.
good Pokemon game.
And for the most part, a lot of people have been saying like, hopefully, what they did in Legends is the format that they use moving forward. Obviously, they have, oh man, I just now thought
Violet and
Scar. Yeah, like this holiday season for the Switch is going to be nuts. Like Dragon Quest. I mean, all the stuff that they showed off. Like we still have Xenoblade Chronicles 3 just
yeah,
a monthish away. There's
Splatoon still coming out
we
this year.
we still don't know what's going on with Bayonetta 3. Like usually at this point, like for what, 5 years, 6 years of the Switch, like
Yeah,
usually at this point, platforms are kind of in their swan song. They're
yeah,
kind of like,
we're just a few months away from the release of the next one, and
yeah,
that's just not the
and
case now.
like there's Breath of the Wild 2 coming out next year. We don't know what's going on with Bayonetta 3. We're getting a second new generation of Pokemon on the same platform.
Which
Um,
is
like,
just so weird.
uh, so yeah, like I don't see the Switch going anywhere anytime soon, unless Nintendo is just like, man, we were hoping to announce something new, but
People
people
keep
won't
buying
stop
this one.
buying this one. Like we even introduced a new model, increased the price, and it's still selling like hotcakes.
Yeah,
Um, but you know, for the most part, like the first half of this year, um, there's so many games to pick from as far as like what could be game of the year. For me personally, despite my frustrations with the game, I still think it is a phenomenal game because of just the complexity, the massive world. But Elden Ring, I feel like right now is my like front runner for game of the year. There's just so much to do. Any type of play style you can think of is in this game. I the camera is probably the biggest enemy in the game. It gets me killed more than any boss that I come
of
across.
course.
But that aside, I think Elden Ring is probably my front runner for game of the year 2022.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about you, but I think Portal did Portal. I think
No,
Portal too.
no, Portal won't. The way we do our end of the year, our game of the year lists at Procedurally Generated is any game that we've played for the first time that year is what can make our list. So I've played Portal
Okay,
and Portal 2 many, many times, so they
so it's
wouldn't even show up on
disqualified.
the list. Um, for me,
Oh,
right now, I sort of go back and forth between three or four different games, and that's Kirby in the Forgotten Land,
yeah, I
uh,
forgot about that game.
Halo Infinite, which is technically a 2021 game because it came out in December,
Yeah,
but uh, you know,
yeah,
it is a 2022 release for all intents and purposes. Uh, TMNT, Shredder's Revenge, is a phenomenal game, and then
great beat 'em up.
I played Ghost of Tsushima for the first time this year, so
Ooh,
That,
That
that is an amazing game.
that it I really really wish Sucker Punch would go back to Infamous, but
Oh, so do I. So do I.
based on like just how well they did Ghost of Tsushima, go ahead, make another game, enjoy that one. Like Infamous will always be there, but yeah, like they did such a good job
Yeah.
of just that world, the storytelling, the combat, like, and then with like the director's cut, just the like pretty much adding an entire new area. But
We put the first episode of the podcast back onto YouTube. It's been off for quite a while, so the first video version of the podcast is now back up on YouTube. You can go check that out. Just search for the Procedurally Generated Show. It's episode 173. I'm
whew,
very happy with the way that turned out and the reception that it's gotten so far. But at the same time, I'm trying to do more video content over there on YouTube. And I'm just putting up some short videos of stuff that I kind of want to play. Some people want to see me play. I am a big fan of the original Super Mario Brothers. It's a game that I continue to play probably once a week, almost regularly. And so I've got it's one of those muscle memory things where you play the pretty much the exact same path through the game all the time. You're not thinking about what you're doing. I can finish the game. I'm not a world class speedrunner by any means. It takes me about 8 minutes to finish the game. Between
I
eight
mean,
and
a
nine
lot faster
minutes.
than I can.
Uh, and so I recorded a quick little gameplay of that and put it up there. It's a new series, I think, tentatively right now is called Howdy Howdy Tony Plays. Um, just some fun little stuff that I'm going to put up there on YouTube. That is up there now. You can check that out and see how I get through Super Mario Brothers and critique me and uh, sh- and compare me to the
Well,
speedrunners and see how much better they are than I am.
well, with doing this, I mean, you might be able to go for that record. I don't know what the
Oh
record
no,
is,
no, I'm not even
but
gonna try. Like I have not watched. I've seen some speed runs of Super Mario Brothers. I don't want to try to do the frame perfect jumps and all that stuff. I just want to play the game. And there are some things that like they play the game without getting mushrooms, without getting fire flowers. I'm like I gotta have the fire flower to get to the end of
yeah,
the game.
like I, I mean, yeah, that's like with Elden Ring, with what the way that I play. I mean, some people may frown upon it, but it allows me to beat bosses. So
Yeah,
summoning things, using magic, standing as far away from enemies as I can, but still like poking at them while my summon takes the brunt of all the damage. Um, it wins me those matchups against the bosses, and
yeah,
maybe it's not the Souls way of doing it. Um, but I've also put almost 140 hours into the game, which is something I've like. It's I was calculating it. It is very rare for a game to get me to play for more than 40 hours.
hmm
And this game, I'm still finding all kinds of new things to do, and uh, also a lot of creative and also dumb ways to die. But you know, so I'm having the Souls experience, whether I want to or not.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
um,
and this is going to be. I'm going to play around with the format of this a little bit. It's not going to be the same thing every time. Sometimes it'll be full playthroughs of games. Sometimes I might cut it down and edit it to 10 or 15 minute, quick
like increments.
plays of the highlights of me playing through some of the stuff. I've got a couple of games in mind that I want to do for upcoming episodes, like Octobug, which is developed by a friend of mine on Twitter. Um, it takes about 5 minutes to play through. It's a really short game, but it's the perfect type of thing to show off in a
Yeah.
video format like that. So
Well, um, but yeah, that's in the comments below or to the side wherever you're watching this. For the most part, I kind of gave up on on daily motion. Like it's just more work to do. So like I was like, well, I'm not really that invested in that platform. So um, But for the most part, in the comments, let us know what you all think as far as your front runner for Game of the Year 2022. What games you're excited for the second half of the year. Stream ideas for either procedurally generated, just one more level, both, whatever. Um, Podcast ideas, suggestions. We love for people to make the job of this easier. If, instead of having to come up with ideas, if people are just like,
Yeah,
oh, well,
y'all
you
tell
should.
us what to do so that we don't have to try to figure it out ourselves.
Yeah, that's the easier the better. Um, but yeah, let us know what you think. Also, the Nintendo Direct, as far as what you think may happen with Bayonetta 3, Dragon Quest 3 remake, Dragon Quest Treasures, Final Fantasy 16. Like, there's so much stuff to
Yeah.
talk about. And we'll be back with another episode of GamerVision. See ya, everybody.